What's up, guys? Eric Vasquez here from TeachMeToDesign.com. And you know the old expression, a picture's worth 1,000 words? Well, there's no better example of this than with a logo. Whether it's a simple Nike swoosh or the Adidas stripes, you know what that company is about as soon as you see that logo. And that's really what it comes down to, guys. It's about communication. Communicating an idea and spreading your message to the masses. So we'll be taking a look at some of these companies and how they've evolved over time, whether for better or for worse. Alright guys, so let's talk logos. Here you'll see first we've got Arbys. Now, Arbys is known for those delicious hot roast beef sandwiches that give you the itis for about 48 hours, and they are quite tasty. So you'll see here on the left they have their original logo from 1975. And what's interesting is how they're using this kind of slab serif cowboy-esque font along with that big signature cowboy hat. But in 2012 they changed this logo up quite drastically. And they introduced this middle logo that you'll see here. And the hat is rendered in 3D with gradients and stuff happening here in the logo. And then they are also using all lowercase for their fonts. But you'll notice that the type doesn't have any kind of similar treatment that the hat does, so it feels a little bit disjointed and inconsistent. But I think at some point they started listening to their consumers and their customers, and in 2013 they actually changed it up to something that felt a little bit more like a natural progression of their original logo. Still using that slab serif, they kind of brought in a more modern feel, and they also reworked the hat a little bit, it looks like, too. The hat here is a little bit wider and shorter. I wonder where they got that idea from. Oh, there it is. That's actually the one of the original oldest Arby's logos that I could find. But I just thought that was kind of something nice to throw in there. Moving on. Next you'll see Bacardi. Bacardi is one of the oldest and most popular types of rum out there, and they've always had this kind of bat incorporated into their logo. And they also have, you know, a nice new typeface here that they introduced in 2013. But what's really cool is this nice graphic that I saw from Logopedia, I believe it was called, and they showed the evolution going way back as far as 1890 of Bacardi, and you could see how they've always kept that one element consistent. Now there are certain times where, you know, the bat is facing one way, then it's facing the other way, but it actually looks like the only time it was facing to the right is in that logo from 2010. But for the most part, you know, they've kept that red, the gold, and the white pretty consistent. They didn't change it up too drastically because you don't want to, you know, lose your customer or your target audience completely. Next we have Green Mountain, which has been around for a long time. And this logo on the left here from 1981 just felt, you know, starting to feel very old and antiquated and things like that. And in 2015 they rolled out a brand new logo, which I think is very cool. It's got some nice texture in it, and it's even got the mountains incorporated into the coffee bean itself. They're also using, you know, a nice heavy sans serif font, which feels, you know, modern and cool. And here you can kind of see how it looks on some of their packaging. So it's a pretty nice logo. It definitely looks good, and feels a lot better than that old logo, which, you know, just kind of reminds you of the cup of coffee you'd get down at the gas station. So moving along, IHOP is another pretty well-known restaurant chain, at least here in the States, and you know, this logo on the left is from 1958. And, you know, at some point, you know, I guess they figured all those pancakes and lumberjack breakfasts, you know, they were putting smiles on people's faces. So they kind of changed up their logo in 2015 to create this new logo, which still has the soft, you know, rounded edges and everything like that. That makes it feel kind of playful and fun. It's not such a serious logo, you know. But there is something that still feels a little bit odd about it to me. Ah, there it is, yeah. It just kind of fits perfectly. I just had to throw that in there. Moving along is Sparrow, a well-known pizza chain. Now, these guys have been around, you know, since 1956, I believe they were founded. And for the longest time, they've had this, you know, Italian flag with the classic Sparrow type. And talk about the itis, man. Sparrow is you know, pretty good pizza for a food court place at least, but In 2015, they decided to change it up and kind of try to get in a new direction here by using this more modern feeling logo. And, everybody loves pizza, especially Subway rats. I don't know if you guys saw this viral video of this rat eating a pizza and carrying it down the steps at the same time, but he must have made a quick stop at Sparrow and then tried to catch his train. So next we have a company called TaskRabbit, which is a website where you can pretty much, put in uh, almost any kind of task, and you can find someone to do it for you. So in 2008, they had this kind of logo with the rabbit carrying a bag, with the blue and green type, and it's kind of fun. But I guess they decided that they were going to change things up and keep the brand feeling modern and young and cool. So in 2013, they came out with this adaptation that you'll see on the bottom. They kind of ditched the blue and they're just sticking with this green. Now, I want you guys to pay attention also to the way that the colors affect these logos as we're going through. It's about the typeface and the color and the mood that it creates. But TaskRabbit is a great service. I mean, here you'll see if you need a ride from the airport, they'll send a car full of rabbits out to get you, or maybe you need a rabbit to go do your grocery shopping. So, feel free to use that site anytime. It's a great service. And one cool thing that I found were actually these sketches of the logo, which is really cool because it gives you guys a little bit of insight into the process and the early developing of that mark. From here we have TBS. The TBS network has been around for a long time, and I just wanted to show a few iterations of what this logo has looked like throughout history. In '96, they kind of had this yellow type, kind of feels like a newspaper almost in these angled boxes. But then in 2004, they changed it up to this, semicircle and went with an all lowercase kind of treatment instead. And then in 2015, they changed it up again using this more kind of dynamic logo with the angles and everything like that. And, I'm still kind of on the fence about it a little bit myself. I mean, it's okay, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of the old MTV logo. And that's what some other people were saying too. It's very angular. But I think that's kind of the idea that they were going for here, because you can see in these on-air treatments that the logo can just be used in a variety of ways, and it's nice to have something like this that is versatile and flexible and fun. And I think that they did that really well. So moving along, let's take a look at TNT, which is another television network, the Turner Network Television logo, of course. So you'll see here the oldest one here in 1988, and how it was just kind of simple, but it was kind of fun at the time. But eventually, in '95, they changed it up to something a little more current and with the times. But from there, they went to this circular version in 2001, and finally to this in 2016. Now it's interesting because this one has they went back to the joined letters that they originally had. But what's odd about it is that there's varying thicknesses of the strokes here in the letters, which I think is a bit odd. It's a little bit inconsistent how they have the curve on the top of the N and the bottom of the N, and then all the other edges are these like sharp geometric angles. And if you look at the horizontal lines through the T's, you can tell that they're a different thickness than the vertical lines in the logo. So I'm not sure how they arrived at that solution, but nothing against those guys, but I am not a huge fan of that mark. I don't think it works as well as some of the others. But I do have to say that I'm a little bit glad that they changed it from that yellow and red, because that kind of reminds me of something. Yeah, Seinfeld. That's what it reminds me of, and maybe they were inspired by that. It was a good show, it was a funny show, and it was certainly popular back in the day. So. Maybe that's where they got that from. Next, we have the Today Show. As you can see here, the logo has changed, but not really all that much. I mean, they kind of simplified it over time from 2006 to 2009 and 2013. And it's kind of a fun logo. I mean, it's, you get the sunrise effect and everything like that, and the all-caps sans serif typeface is very nice. But what's really cool about this logo is the way that they're using it on air. So they can use this new logo in a variety of ways, as you'll see, creating objects with it, like the umbrella, the suitcase for travel and all kinds of things like that. So I do like when you can take a logo like that and say you have subcategories of your company or business, you can kind of show that in different iterations of the mark. So I do think that that is pretty cool. And next we have Wendy's, another fast food chain that has been around for a long time. I believe the redheaded girl is actually supposed to be the daughter of the founder of Wendy's. So they've always had that as part of their logo, and it's another good example of consistency over time, even though they did change it up. Kind of similar to Arby's, Wendy's used that slab serif font as well, even way back in 1976. But they did have, these kind of ornate, swoosh here underneath the main mark. But in 1978, they introduced more color to it. They brought in that yellow, and aside from that, it was still kind of similar until 1982 when they changed it into more of a sign. And the sign is okay. It makes it feel kind of vintage. It's just kind of a big block. But they had that for a pretty long time up until 2013. Now in 2013, they actually redrew the illustration of Wendy here herself, and it's a pretty good update, I think. The typeface is a little bit iffy. It just says Wendy's. They kind of ditched the tagline here in the logo. But what's cool is just the way that they're trying to stay current, and I like the illustration. I think the freckles. It's very much feels like a comic book, and they desperately needed to update that. So that's another example of a good logo that you guys can see how it's evolved over time. But again, all these are just my own thoughts and opinions, and I, of course, just wanted to show this to you guys and share it with you so you can see how they've changed over time. And of course, one of the biggest secrets to Wendy's success is their secret ingredient, which is their people. So here you'll see Wendy's, just when they rolled out their new logo, they've had all these commercials. The redheaded woman on the bottom right, who actually saw grocery shopping in New York a couple years ago. I don't think she eats Wendy's all the time, regardless of what they want you to think. But I kind of wish they would make that cat the spokesperson. I think that they could have something there for their next logo iteration. But anyway, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I just wanted to show you some evolutions of logos. That's not to say that all of the logos themselves are great and successful. I leave that up to you to decide for yourselves. But it's just interesting, and it goes to show you that there's a lot more to graphic design and art than simply using the software like Photoshop and Illustrator and things like that. You have to start to look at these things and notice the fonts and notice the colors and the consistency and everything like that, and how it's going to affect the people that you're trying to reach. So if you are looking to learn more about graphic design and specifically Photoshop, I highly recommend our ebook, Practical Photoshop for Beginners, which you'll find a link for below in the description or by going to teachmetodesign.com. Please sign up for our email list and check us out on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe there and let us know how we can help you design better. See you next time.